Hi, and welcome to the Knitting Game and Other Stuff. Come on in.
Scissors and string. Soon it will be spring.
Hello, and welcome to the Knitting Game and Other Stuff. This is episode 74. I didn't record last week, and I'll explain why in a little bit. So let's get into it. I'm Leslie, your host, and you can find out how to reach me on places like Plurk and Instagram Ravelry in the show notes, which are at myordinaryjourney.com. I'd like to welcome our two newest members, and that is Kanachita, that's Constanza, and Miss Ladybug Meg. So welcome to the group. We are now at 190, so when we hit 200, I will do a membership milestone giveaway. So lots of fun there. Birthdays. Well, since I missed last week, there's tons of birthdays from last week that I missed that will be belated, and a few birthdays from this coming week. So we have a lot. So Miranda Smiles, Miranda. Knitting Mary B, Mary. Dramatic Knits, Steve. Mac, Maggie. JT Knitter San, Joy. Stitch Naughty, Cindy. NJ Knitter, Vicky. Tina, pronounced like Tina, happy birthday. Sheep Therapy, Pam. And if you ever get a chance to go out to New Orleans, she's got some pralines. Oh, she had them at Zombie Knit Apocalypse. I snagged two and brought one home for my husband. They were that good. EMB Queen, Emb Queen, and Bookhouse, that's Sheena. So, happy belated birthday for everybody that had a birthday last week. And happy pre-birthday for folks that are having their birthday this week. So, alright. Getting out to shout-outs and announcements. And now I'm going to call this general chit-chat. So, where was I last week? Well, as you may know, the last time I recorded, I talked about how I hurt my back, and it was starting to feel a little bit better, but it had been really bad. So Friday, I go for my personal training session with my trainer, and I told him I can't do, things that involve my back. So no deadlifts, no clean and jerks, no, kettlebell swings, nothing like that. So he had this plan for me, and we worked on stretching out the lower back. So we did a lot of laying down on foam rollers, stretching out the back, trying to open up the pelvis and the hips, trying to get those to stretch. We did some trigger point release with lacrosse balls, getting into the muscles to release the fascia and everything, get everything straight. So I'm laying on the floor, and I have these lacrosse balls like pinned on my back. My spine is here, and these two lacrosse balls are on either side on my lower back. So if I rolled forward, they would pinch too much. It would grind into my back and it would hurt. And if I rolled to either side, the same thing would happen. So what I needed to do is have my trainer lift me up with a straight back to the point where then I could sit down and just get up on my own. Well, when I asked him for help, he's like, sure. So he reaches down and gives me a hand, and before I can say, we need to go really, really slowly, he just kind of pulled me up like you would just normally do. Oh my gosh, all that work that we'd spent 20 minutes doing, trying to get everything to release and relax, just kind of tightened up again. So his plan for the day was shot, so I just went and sat on a bicycle, and I rode a bicycle for 40 more minutes till my session was over. Then he's like, I'm not going to train you again until you go and see your doctor. I'm like, fair enough. So I call, and the only appointment that they had was for Wednesday morning. So I go in Wednesday morning. And when I called, they're like, oh, we haven't seen you since 2011. Let's make this a physical. Great. So I know I've put on some weight since the last time I was at the doctor. And I was trying to avoid going back to the doctor until I had a chance to, at least get back to the weight I'd been the last time I was there. And yeah, so I was like, man, I'm going to get in trouble. So they did my lab work, they took my blood, and I knew I was going to get a phone call. So I kind of have sort of bad news. I'm not dying or anything. It's just I have to go back on my medication. So I'll probably be on Januvia for the high blood sugar, and probably Vytorin or something for the high cholesterol. I know it's coming. I know they called and said we need to come back and see you. And I'm like, okay, so I know. So I have an appointment this Friday to go back and get scolded and put back on medication. So I got to do a better job of working out. I had been working out 4 or 5 times a week and then hiking, and now it's down to maybe 1 or 2 times a week with nothing extra. So my activity level has really dropped off in the last year and a half, so I need to get back to it. But anyway, that's where I was last week instead of recording. And then I kept meaning to record, and it just never happened. And I figured rather than trying to explain over Plurk where I was or whatever, because I don't get a chance to get on that much, I figured I just explain today. Alright, so upcoming events. On a happy note, I'm going to be able to participate in the Spin Quest Adventure Retreat. It is this Saturday in Front Royal, Virginia. There was only 40 slots, so yay, I get in. And I found out last night, or early this morning when I was on Facebook looking around, that Katie from Gourmet Stash is going to be there. So yay, I get to see Kate. So that is wonderful fun. So Saturday, my husband's going to drive me up there and drop me off, and I'm going to be there all day. And then he's going to pick me up at the end of the day, and we're going to go just right up the road to Winchester and go have some dinner with some friends up there and hang out for the evening. And we're going to spend the night up in Winchester and then drive home on Sunday. So it's kind of turned into a mini overnight vacation. So yeah, my husband gets to go hang out with friends while I'm there spinning and learning new things, and I think that'll be a lot of fun. Coming up in October, we have Let's Stitch. It's the charity knitting, crocheting event that the Fredericksburg Spinners and Weavers Guild hosts each year. This is our 3rd annual Let's Stitch. And what this event does is we get together in our studio space, and the event is hosted by the Libertytown Arts Workshop, and we have as many people from the community come in, learn how to knit. We hold workshops, we teach folks how to knit, and what we strive to do is to bring awareness to the problem of not only homelessness, but to the underprivileged or folks that just may be down on their luck. And we knit scarves, hats, gloves, and socks for charity. So it is a charity event, in short. Also in October is the Virginia Fall Fiber Festival in Montpelier. I can't believe I'm talking about stuff coming up in October already, but it's right around the corner. And then the Shenandoah Fiber Festival, that is in September, so it's the last weekend of September. So lots of good stuff coming up here. It's just around the corner. We've had some great weather here the last week or so, where the highs have only been in the 70s, mid to high 70s, low 80s, and the humidity is actually starting to back off a little bit. The light is starting to change. There's pumpkins and gourds in the grocery stores, so it's starting to get to be about that time of year, and I love this. I get antsy in August because I know September and the fall is just right around the corner, and that's my favorite time of the year. Alrighty, so the knitting game. And moving on to the other stuff. There's nothing from the knitting game. We went through all my zombie stash. I haven't worked on any knitting game projects. So, yeah. I have to figure out how I'm going to do the exotic drape ruffle, which yarn combination I want to use to get that one done. So as soon as I figure that out, I might cast that on here, even though I haven't quite knit to zero. But I have made some significant progress, I would say that. So seriously, moving on to the other stuff, because I have no knitting game stuff to talk about this week. So hopefully in the next couple of months, I'll be able to have a new knitting game. So we'll see what happens there. So works in progress. You know what? I'm going to start with my finished object first. So in a rush last week, not even realizing, oh wait, you have a doctor's appointment, I went crazy pants and I finished. I think the last time I showed you, I may have just cast on the second of the Don't Cage Me In socks. They're finished, folks. Ends woven in, heels fixed, everything. So now I don't have any holes in my heels. They are good to go. All the ends are woven in. I have a pair of socks. Yay. And this is made with Highland Handmaid's Unforgettable. It is a one-off colorway. She can never do this again because this was what she used to soak up her dye pots with. And I won it in a giveaway that Heather hosted. So, nanny boo boo. I just love those one-offs that the dyers do. I think they're so special. I mean, I know they're kind of like sucking up scrap dye, but I just love how things come out and how they look. And I love how these look. It was really, really pretty. So I have about half of the yarn left. And what I'm going to do is, if you can see this like gray color, it's easier to see over here in the sock. I'm going to get some gray yarn to kind of not match it exactly, but come really close. And what I'm going to do with the yarn I have left over is I'm going to knit mittens, the wrist cuff, and the palm in the gray, and then I'm going to do each of the fingers in the Don't Cage Me in the Unforgettable colorway with the yarn I have left over, and then I will have matching socks and sort of mittens, because I don't think I have enough. See, gloves, not mittens, but see, I think that would be really kind of neat to have the fingers and the colors. So that is my plan for later on. Alright, that was my finished object. So yay! One more thing I have off the needle. So this knitting to zero thing is taking forever. But since I finished those, I was able to go ahead and start working on another project that I've had languishing, and that is my Jimmy Beans wool knit along. It was the gauntlets inspired by the Dowager Countess on Downton Abbey. And I have half of an object, so here is my hoe, sorta. I have to do the I-cord cinching ribbon for here, but I'm going to wait till the end to make sure I have enough yarn, because that makes me nervous. So here is the one hoe, the one finished object that I have. So this is the Lorna's Laces Sport Mate in the Christmas at Downton colorway. So, and it's just a simple, excuse me, rosebud lace panel here. I love the tops of the gloves, how they fit on my thumb and here. And I have woven in all the ends. I did the scalloped edging down here while watching Skyfall. we were watching Skyfall, and that's when I did that. So not only do I have a half of an object, I have started on the second gauntlet, the left side. So I'm not even through a full repeat yet, but that's coming along. So this is like what I'm working on at the house now, or watching movies or stuff. I didn't get much done this weekend because I was holed up in bed for the majority of the weekend. I had x-rays for my back on Saturday morning, came back, ate lunch, laid back down, got up at about 6:30 to go to a massage that my husband had scheduled for us earlier in the week. So we had that from 7 to 8, came back, ate dinner, laid back down. Sunday, I didn't really get out of bed at all. I stayed in my pajamas all day. But that's because I was on this medicine, and it makes me I can't take it during the week because I can't function at work. So I didn't do a lot of at-home knitting this weekend. So those are my Downton Abbey gauntlets. So I'm working on those. Those should be done. I'm going to give it 3 weeks. We'll see. I do have a new project to show you. Now, a while ago I asked if I were to design a new pattern or something to that effect, if that would count against my knitting to 0. And the resounding answer from you guys was no, it doesn't count. So I started to design a hat on Sunday afternoon for my daughter. Now, at Zombie Knit Apocalypse, everybody got a door prize. Some folks even lucked out and got 2. But my door prize was this yarn. It is from Spartacus Dyes. This is the Will and Grace sock, the base, and it is, the colorway is Sally from Tim Burton's series. So, as you can see, it's this mishmash of colors. And as soon as Amy and Megan announced what the colorway is, and before they announced who won it, i.e. me, I turned to my friend sitting next to me and I said, oh my gosh, my daughter would absolutely love that, because she is a huge, I'm telling you, huge Nightmare Before Christmas fan, like crazy. Like, she's got Jack Skellington sheets, she's got a Jack Skellington snuggie, she's got shirts, I mean, it's crazy pants. So I was like, oh, my daughter would love that. I'm not sure she'd love the colors, but she'd love the idea of the yarn, the name, and where it came from. And she'd see the inspiration in it. Well, sure enough, I sent her a picture of it that night, and she's like, I don't even know, I've never watched that show, Will and Grace. I'm like, no, Pumpkin, read further on the tag. And she's like, oh my gosh. You know, as you can do over the internet. Oh my god, OMG. So we've been talking, her and I, over the past few weeks about how she would like me to, because this was always going to be something for her. So her and I have been collaborating on a design, and she decided she wanted a hat. She wanted a hat that looked like, you know, the movie posters, the hill that kind of spirals around. So she wants a hat kind of inspired by that shape, that swirly shape. So I'm going to make her a hat, and I don't know if this is quite going to work out swirly. But the inspiration for how to begin, I guess, came to me this weekend. I was just kind of cruising through YouTube, seeing where it would take me. And I came upon this video that Audie did, and they have a knitting machine where you just crank it, kind of like one of the old antique ones, but this one was huge. And the name of the video was Knit a Hat in 30 Minutes or Less. And she had this yarn, and she just kept cranking, and she made this big, long tube. And what she did is is she closed up the side that was going to be the inside first. And what she did is she just ran a length of yarn through the live stitches, cinched it shut, kind of did the needle through the top of the hat a couple of times. And then she pulled it like up inside the other half of the tube. So the wrong side of the tube she had closed was kind of almost sticking out the end of the tube with the right side always facing you. So it's like a double lined hat. So I'm going to do something like that, but I think if I do this right, it'll be so long that when she puts it on her head, it'll actually kind of curve back and be kind of floppy. So it's also really great for no-brainer knitting because it's all going to be in stockinette. It's going to be one long stockinette tube. And what I'm doing is I'm holding the yarn double. So I get a nice thick fabric. So right now these are on size 9 24-inch fixed circular ChowGoo needles. I had originally started with size 7s. They were, the fabric was too tough, like bulletproof. It was like really, I wasn't enjoying the drape of the fabric, and that's kind of what I'm looking for, is more of a drapey fabric. This one was very rigid and structured, and I wasn't liking how that came out. So I ripped it all out. That one I started with 96 stitches. Since I don't have a pattern, I gotta figure out how many stitches I want, right? So that one was 96. So then I went up to a size 10.5 needle and I started knitting, and I also did 96 stitches that I cast on, and I'm doing a provisional cast on, and I'll tell you why later. But so I have to do this crocheted provisional cast on. So the second time I did it, it was on 10.5, and that was too big. The holes in between the stitches, the fabric, you could see through too much of it. And the way you weave in the ends, you kind of just, like on a stuffed toy, you pull it taut, and then you snip it. Oh God, you can't see. So you pull it taut so it's outside of the body of the fabric. You snip it close to the toy wherever, and then it pulls back in, but not in enough where it unravels. So that's kind of the technique you use when you bind off the hat. You just kind of pull it through the right side of the fabric, snip it close, and it comes back in between the two layers so you never see the ends. So the fabric on 10.5, it was just too open and airy. So I found my 9s, and these are size 9 ChowGoo. They are not the red lace because they're the crooked, the angled, and they don't have the same coating on the needle as the red lace do. But they're still the ChowGoos, and they are working splendidly. I'm really enjoying working with these. The first time I cast on the 9s, I cast on 100 stitches. And when I watched the video, I noticed that when she was cranking away and creating the fabric, that the fabric kind of pooled and like came into the center. So it was obviously smaller than the circumference of the knitting machine. And because these are size 24 needles, I kind of wanted these a little bit smaller than the circumference of her head. So it kind of stretches and stays there instead of, just falls off. Since I'm not doing a ribbing, yeah, so 100 stitches on these, it was too much. It was too many stitches for the length of the cord, and it was going to be too big. So I took it off. And every time I'm doing this and ripping it out, I've got like probably this much done. So I've knit enough rounds to get about 2 inches of fabric. So that's a lot of work when you think about it. So, and it's not like I was, they say swatch to save time. Well, that was swatching. That was my swatch process. So it's not like, you know, I would have saved any time doing this because that was my swatching. So I ripped it out. So that was the 100 on this 9s. Then I cast it on at like 96. So I, 4 stitches? I thought, well, maybe 4. You know, maybe it'll bring it in an inch. So every time I do this, I have to provisionally cast on with a crochet hook onto the needles, the cast on. So I did 96, and that I got about 1.5 inches into the fabric and realized somehow I had twisted my stitches. I had a twist. So I pull it back off the needles, re-put on the cast on, and this time I only did 84. So this is what I've come up with. This is 84 stitches on a size 9, 24-inch circular needle. And this is, I'm liking the fabric density. I am liking the size. Oh my goodness, my screen went, wow, I've never had that happen. And I'm liking the size. So everything is coming on, and I'm just going to knit a tube. And I'm going to keep knitting until I reach the end of this ball. And I can either do 2 things. At the point where I finish, I can either run a length of the yarn through the top and just leave it and wait and, you know, do the inside-outside flippy-flop thing when I get the other half done. If it's long enough, I can have one long tube in just this yarn and have just one type of fabric. So it would just be one tube. Or the other option is, when I get done to the end of here, I can, through the magic knot method, put on a second type of yarn, either a dark gray or black, or maybe even both. Ooh, I didn't think about that. That would be good. Maybe even both, so that would be held double, and I can do an equal amount of a tubing in the black and gray and extend it out to have that. Or I can run the length through here and make this the top. Then, because I have the provisional cast on here, I can add the black and gray yarn here. And the reason why I did the provisional cast on is because it's not a traditional cast off. I need to cinch it up, so I need to be able to come back here and either add new yarn or run a length of yarn through the end. And I've left myself enough of a tail that when I get to that point, I have that option just to run the length of yarn through here and make this the top of the inside, and then this would be the top of the outside, or vice versa, or however I choose to do it. So I did a provisional cast on to give myself options when I get to the end of using this yarn. So that is that. So that is my design project. And this is like simple knitting, so I can knit in the car, or, you know, knit on breaks and things like that. Excuse me. Where, you know, when I'm working with lace, it's not as easy when I have to pay attention to things. So that's why I needed a project where it was going to be fairly easy stockinette or a fairly easy pattern. And I thought, it's getting to be Christmas time to start your Christmas knitting. So that's why I chose to cast this on, even though I'm knitting to 0. So I figure I was making good enough progress, because the only thing I have after the Downton Abbey socks are my Rocky Coast cardigan. That's the only thing I have left on my needle. So yeah. Alright, on to spinning, because that took a long time. Right now, I finished my Into the World BFL Silk in the Sense of colorway. I finished the single on Monday night. I'm letting it rest, and tomorrow night I am going to work on Navajo plying it, because I need the bobbin for Saturday, so I need to get as many bobbins as I can together and stuff off of the bobbins on Saturday. So I might transfer some of the other projects I have on bobbins to paper rolls. Yeah, because I need the bobbins. So, resting, I haven't finished my crazy art bat from Hobbledehoy, the core spun, and then the Wild Hair Fiber Studio Faux Cashmere in the Sugar Maple colorway. That is currently still resting. That's one of the ones I think I broke it into thirds, and I think I have the whole third finished, but it's sitting on the bobbin, so I need to pull that off and put it on a paper tube. So when it's time to do my 3-ply, I'm going to do a true 3-ply instead of a chain ply to ply that together and see what happens. So that's resting. I do have a stash enhancement for spinning. Last week I got my August Into the World shipment, and it is called Mythrander, and I'm sure you probably have seen this already if you've watched everybody else's show, but I'm in the Luxe Club. So this is 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon, and this is probably the better side. It's there's some dark greens and some regular greens, light greens, and this grayish blue. Right here in the middle, this grayish blue. And I haven't taken it out of the package yet because I don't want to jerk it around and mess it up, because it does have cashmere in it. So I can imagine it is nice and soft. But I'm not thrilled with the colors. It looks kind of exactly like the colors from last month. So she had a big problem with everybody submitting green pictures, so she's trying to come up with different ways to do green, like a whole bunch of different ways. So, but I got that. So, I will have goodies to share next week because there's a marketplace at the Spin Quest. So I may have some new goodies to show everybody next week. We'll see. Alright, so that was a long one. I guess that was 2 weeks worth of progress and chit chat and whatnot and nonsense and yippee-ki-yay and what have you. So, thank you for sticking with me. Hopefully I don't have too many of these unexpected absences. I don't like to have unexpected absences. Next show will be number 75. So that's every 25 seems like a milestone to me. So yay! Remember, if we hit 200 members, there's going to be a membership milestone giveaway. So if your friends are knitters and they're not part of the group, you know, kind of elbow them in the ribs and not strong arm them, but see if they'll join and, you know, get us over that hump. That would be fun. Alright, so I'm going to say hopefully until next week. I will see you guys later, okay? So, no voting, and have a great week. Bye.